What if one day Earth was struck by a storm from space? These gigantic tempests are born on the Sun, with power beyond anything we know. Streams of charged particles burst outward and rush toward the planets. Scientists call them coronal mass ejections, and they can change life on Earth. Space storms are not just beautiful phenomena. They carry destructive energy capable of disabling satellites. Navigation, internet, communication all can collapse within minutes. It is like an invisible hurricane tearing apart the technologies of civilization. The first impact is taken by Earth's magnetic field. It acts as a shield, deflecting and redirecting most of the particles. But when the storm is especially strong, the shield begins to crack. Then the skies ignite with one of the most mesmerizing phenomena, auroras. Auroras are the beautiful face of space storms. Green, purple, and red waves dance in the sky, stunning the imagination. But behind this beauty lies a reminder: we live under constant threat. Each aurora is a trace of energy that has traveled to us from the depths of space. History remembers moments when space storms changed human life. In 1859, the famous Carrington event erupted. Telegraph systems around the world collapsed, and wires sparked with fire. Imagine what would happen if such an event struck in our digital age. The modern world is far more vulnerable than in the 19th century. Every day, we depend on satellites, GPS, and the internet. A powerful space storm could plunge continents into digital darkness. Scientists warn, it is not a question of if, but of when. Space storms are explosive manifestations of solar activity. In the core of the Sun, thermonuclear reactions rage. Enormous plasma whirlwinds rise and break through the surface. Sometimes this triggers flares brighter than millions of atomic bombs. When such flares erupt, billions of tons of matter rush toward Earth. These particles travel at millions of kilometers per hour. No wall, no satellite can fully stop their flow. Our only barrier is the planet's magnetic field and atmosphere. Earth's magnetic field is the invisible hero. It deflects most of the stream and channels it toward the poles. Here auroras are born, but geomagnetic storms also arise. They can even affect the human body, causing fatigue and headaches. Scientists constantly observe the Sun to predict such events. Satellites record flares and measure particle streams. But even with modern technology, we have only a few hours to prepare. Space always reminds us we remain a small planet before a giant. But what would happen if a new Carrington-level storm occurred? Power grids could fail within minutes. Millions of people would be left without electricity and communication. This could trigger true technological collapse. Models show that recovery from such a catastrophe would take years. Internet cables, satellites, navigation all would be damaged. The global economy could lose trillions of dollars. And all of this from a flare on our stellar neighbor. But space storms are not only a threat. They give scientists a chance to study how stars work. Each solar flare is a window into the past and future of the universe. Because such processes occur on billions of stars across the galaxy, to understand storms, we launch observatories into space. Satellites like SOHO and the Parker Solar Probe watch the Sun 24/7. They transmit data on magnetic fields and particle streams. This helps predict storms and buy precious time. Yet space is unpredictable, and sometimes storms arrive suddenly. Signals may be delayed, leaving humanity unprepared. It reminds us of our fragility before the forces of the universe, and that every aurora in the sky is a warning, not just beauty. Scientists compare space storms to the breathing of the Sun. Each cycle of its activity lasts about 11 years. During this time, flares and eruptions occur more often, and with greater force. We live within the giant rhythm of a star that cannot be stopped. Powerful storms can even affect airplane flights. At high altitudes, radio communication becomes unstable. Sometimes routes must be changed to avoid dangerous zones. Space reminds us of its presence even to those who never leave Earth. But stars are carefully planned around solar activity. The history of Apollo missions confirms this threat. Had a flare erupted during their flights, astronauts would have been defenseless. Fortunately, they were lucky to avoid a deadly particle stream. But future explorers cannot rely on luck alone. Today, engineers design special shelters from radiation. Future bases on the Moon and Mars will be equipped with underground bunkers. Their astronauts will wait out the most dangerous hours of storms. It is another proof, to survive in space, we must respect its power. Scientists build models to forecast space weather. These forecasts help pilots, sailors, and engineers, but accuracy is still far from perfect. The sun remains a capricious and unpredictable source of energy. Sometimes storms create amazing sights even far from the poles. Auroras can ignite in places where they were never seen before. People step outside and photograph the skies, but few realize the danger hidden behind this wonder. Magnetic storms affect not only technology, but also life. Some animals lose orientation during migrations. Birds and whales can lose their way. Thus, space storms even alter the natural order on Earth. When we think of space, we often imagine its beauty. But a storm reminds us, space is also dangerous. It is a force that cannot be controlled. We can only watch and prepare for the inevitable. Humanity has already faced minor space storms. They disabled local networks and satellites. But a true global storm has not yet struck us. It is only a matter of time, and the world must be ready. To defend ourselves, new technologies are needed. Engineers design satellites resistant to storms. Power grids learn to shut down automatically against overloads. These are the first steps in battling the cosmic tempest, but even the most advanced systems provide no full protection. The sun remains too powerful and unpredictable. No technology can stop it. We can only learn and adapt. For astronomers, storms are also a key to the universe's secrets. They help us understand how planets and stars formed. Each plasma eruption is a fragment of cosmic history. Watching the sun, we see the reflection of billions of other worlds. And yet, for ordinary people, the storm remains a distant mystery. We see auroras in the sky and marvel, unaware that behind the beauty hides a threat to civilization. Space always combines both greatness and danger. Some scientists believe that space storms may have influenced history. Unexpected communication failures altered wars and expeditions. Perhaps past civilizations faced the sun's invisible force, and we are only beginning to grasp the scale of its power. In the future, as humans journey to other planets, storms will become an even greater threat. Colonists on Mars will rely on protective technologies. Any mistake could cost the lives of entire settlements. The sun will remind us that it remains the master of the solar system. That is why space weather is not science fiction, but part of our reality. Storm forecasts are becoming as vital as hurricane predictions on Earth. Governments and companies are learning to factor them into plans. This is how a new era of space safety is built. But despite all dangers, space storms gift us with unique beauty. No phenomenon compares to the aurora. It is a living reminder of our connection to the stars. Each flare is like a letter from the sun addressed to Earth. Next time you see an aurora in the sky, remember, it is not just light. It is the breath of the star that sustains life on Earth. It can be both a gift and a threat. And in this lies the eternal paradox of space. Today, a space storm could paralyze entire cities. Power plants shut down, transportation stops. The world turns into a dark and silent place within seconds. Such a scenario feels more like a disaster movie than reality. But for scientists, every storm is a chance to learn more about the universe. Sensors record the tiniest changes in magnetic fields. Computers map the streams of particles. Every storm is a lesson that brings us closer to the future. We are building ever more sensitive telescopes and satellites. They can detect a flare within minutes of its birth. These technologies save millions of devices on Earth. Each discovery is a step toward protecting civilization, but no matter how smart we are, space is always one step ahead. The sun is a living star, and its behavior can never be fully predicted. We can only observe and calculate probabilities. And remember that our civilization depends on its moves. Space storms remind us that we are part of the cosmos. We depend on the sun just as much as on air, water, and yet it can turn against us. This makes our existence fragile, but also incredibly precious. Imagine a world where every morning the news begins with a space weather forecast. Not just rain or wind, but solar flares shaping our day. People make plans depending on whether a storm is coming. That future is closer than we think. For some, it is a threat. For others, a source of inspiration. Artists and poets have described the lights in the sky for centuries. Today we know their nature, yet they still enchant us. Beauty and science meet in every aura, but behind this magic lies strict science. Every particle stream is data for research. Every aura is the result of complex magnetic physics. In this blend of mystery and science lies the magic of space. Space storms remind us we live in a dynamic universe. Nothing is permanent, everything moves and changes. Stars are born, die, and radiate energy. And we are only witnesses of this eternal drama. And yet, despite the danger, there is something majestic in these storms. They remind us of the vastness of space, of our vulnerability and the sun's power, and of how much we still have to understand. Every new satellite, every observatory is our shield. We look into the face of a giant, trying to predict its breath. These technologies are the bridge between humans and space. They teach us to respect the sun and at the same time harness its power. The future of space exploration directly depends on space weather. Crewed missions to Mars are impossible without storm protection. Every project requires radiation shielding systems. Without them, space will remain closed to humankind. But perhaps studying storms will become the key to progress. They show us how to harness the energy of stars. One day, we may learn to use this power for humanity. The sun is not only a threat, but also a source of future discoveries. And then the storm will no longer be an enemy, but an ally. Humanity will learn to live in harmony with its star. We will stop fearing its flares and begin using them. It will be a new chapter in the history of civilization. But until that day, we remain subjects of the sun. Every storm is a reminder of our fragility, and that space is full of forces we cannot yet match. This is what makes exploring the universe so thrilling. Space storms are a story of fear and beauty. They remind us we are only guests in the infinite universe. Yet this is what makes our existence